Hello, sales freaks. It's Adon here with another episode, and today I'm going to share some really very interesting news. Actually, some interesting data, I should say. Let's just stop for a minute and backtrack where we're at. Right, we have had an unbelievable 2020. Right, I mean, for those of you in the States, as of right now, the election was last night. You still don't know who's won. We go back to all the different issues with COVID. And we started off the year hearing about COVID. By February, it was getting quite serious. And by March, we had lockdowns. And these turn of events, this year has been unusual. But what it's done is it has really shown the vulnerability. And many of us in different industries, not industry specific, but the vulnerabilities of the laggards, right? Of the people that are slower to change, that didn't see that they needed to make changes, that they didn't have to do things digitally online. Maybe for the next few years, maybe they were looking to retire. Maybe they were looking to, skate by and not have to embrace the change. But with the COVID, I don't know how fast it's accelerated the digital transformation. But it's probably put us ahead by 10 years, right? There are grandmas and grandpas that would never have done FaceTime, but now they can't see their grandkids. They can't see their family. They can't leave their homes, whatever it is. So there's a connection now, and people are using digital and using Zoom and Facebook and all these different tools to interact, to engage, because at the heart, we are social beings, right? And although we don't like to necessarily meet people and talk to people we don't know, we very much like to meet people and see people and communicate with people that we do know. And so we are social beings, and by having the lockdowns and by having the COVID-19 pandemic and these type of things, it has accelerated the digital transformation. Now, the question is how much has it accelerated it and how fast? We don't know. Maybe probably 5-10 years, but we know that it has definitely accelerated it. And so today I want to talk about that. I want to bring that to light, and I really want to talk to you about some recent data, that has come out from McKinsey and Company. They are very much a very reputable consulting firm. They have some really strong data, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Now, what the data goes on to talk about, and I won't go through the scroll too much, but here is the data, right? And what I mean when I say I'm not going to scroll too much is I will send a link to the information. But what we're talking about here is we're talking about both buyers and sellers, and the recent data on where they're at with the change to digital. And what's interesting is when you start, this article starts off with, it's about 11 pages, is more than 3/4 of buyers and sellers say they now prefer digital self-serve and remote human engagement to face-to-face interactions. Did you hear that? More than 3/4. More than 75%, 3/4 of buyers and sellers say they now prefer digital self-serve and remote human engagement over face-to-face interactions. Safety is one reason, of course, but self-serve and remote interactions have made it easier for buyers to get information, place orders, and arrange service, and customers have enjoyed the speed and convenience. Only 20% of B2B buyers say they hope to return to in-person sales. So we're going to go over this data, but let me give you an example of how I mean this has changed and how this is changing. I recently had a customer of mine want me to meet, and I was going to suggest digital, but just because of various reasons, I didn't. And it was going to take a whole day for me to get there. It was going to take a hotel. It was going to take me to get up the next day, to go there, do the training, do the information, do the meetings. It was going to take another day for me to come back. It was going to take 3 days and probably somewhere between $600 to $700, maybe even $800 when you include gas and hotels and food and accommodations. And I just didn't feel comfortable asking about making it digital with this particular customer. And as I was leaving, as I'd already packed, I was already spent expenses and stuff, I got a phone call and it was canceled. So when I spoke to the customer again, they said, well, we can do this another time. I said, yeah. I said, or we could do digital. And they said, I never thought of that. Let's just do that. That's just easier. Okay, now I was already out a whole bunch of money because I traveled and stuff, but what I did do is it saved me 3 days of travel, $800 to send a link and to do digital. And it, in some ways, it's better because I share my screen with them. They can see me, I can see them. I'm sharing my screen. I don't have to open up my laptop and be really tight with them or in a conference room. So I myself am preferring digital in some ways. Now, absolutely, there's nothing beats being face-to-face with a person, especially when you're trying to build a relationship, because there's that natural that energy, the eye contact, all those types of things. I'm not suggesting that's going to go away. But what I am suggesting is that the data suggests that people are making the adaptation and are very comfortable with it. It's not like they're doing it and are like, oh my God, when is this going to end? When can I start seeing people face to face? Because that's not what's happening. They're like, oh, this is very convenient. This is easy. I like this. This is saves me time, money, everything. So I really suggest you take a look at the data with the McKinsey report. But I'm just going to share a few things with you over to because of the segment. I want to keep the show down, under 30 minutes. So I'm not going to get into it in too much detail. But I really encourage you to take a look at it, at the data, and look at it and consider the what's being said here. So if we go into the data, I hope you can see this. What it's saying is most B2B sellers interactions have moved to remote or digital. Okay, now I'm not going to go over all the charts with you, but if you look over on the right-hand side, and that's exactly what customers want. Between 70 and 80% of B2B decision makers prefer remote human interaction or digital self-serve. Why? Ease of scheduling, savings on travel expenses, and safety. Between 70 and 80% prefer digital interactions. And so I encourage you that if you have not embraced it, that you need to embrace it, and you can absolutely work with your sales team or yourself, and you can adapt to change. The change is necessary. No one's suggesting that when COVID is over that there's not going to go back to some type of normal, but it's definitely going to be a new normal. People are going to be a lot more comfortable with seeing you maybe half the amount of time and half the time in digital. I don't know what that equation is going to work out to be, but you can rest assured it's going to work out to be. Now, I'm not going to get into all the data. There's some really interesting data, but there's a few things I want to share with you. Okay, customers are buying big online. Okay, notably, 70% of B2B decision makers say they are open to making fully self-serve or remote purchases in the excess of $50,000, and 20% would spend more than $500,000. And in fact, over 15% were willing to spend over $1 million not seeing someone physically by using remote services and digital. So most of us aren't selling over $1 million programs. Most of us aren't necessarily selling $500 to $1 million programs or packages in one application. But 32% are willing to spend $50,000 to $500,000. 32% of people are willing to spend over. So once you get to under $50,000, you have 70% of B2B decision makers that are fine with it. So that is astronomical. And as it goes up, of course, it starts to go down. But you think about this, 70%, 7 out of 10 B2B decision makers are okay to spend $50,000 or under $50,000 digitally, remotely, without meeting you, without seeing you. Now, likewise, sellers also believe digital prospecting is as effective as in-person meetings to connect with existing customers. And do you agree with that? Now, as an example, remote engagement successfully supports both selling and prospecting. Okay, so the data is just overwhelming that people are willing and comfortable with digital. And so it really want to make sure we drive this home, that we understand the importance of making sure that we are embracing digital and that we are going digital to some degree. Now, if you look here, the majority of B2B companies have shifted their go-to-market model from traditional. Okay, go-to-market sales model during COVID-19, traditional or in-person, is down 52%. Now, we would expect that, wouldn't we? Digital to heavy reliance on video and online chat. Digital interaction with sales reps. Okay, video conferencing is up 41%. Okay, from 38 to 53% in general since COVID, and online chat is up 23%. Likewise, is 69% since April to revenue generated from video interactions has jumped 69% since April. That would be expected. Together, e-commerce and video conferencing now account for 43% of all the B revenue, right? E-commerce and video conferencing now account for 43% of all B2B revenue. That is absolutely astronomical. And then the last I want to kind of beat up here, or is a few things actually, is want to talk about, right, just below here, these 4 guidelines here. Okay, so meetings with others in your company, 79% prefer video to phone. Meetings with existing customers, 76% prefer video to phone. Meetings with prospects, 76% prefer video to phone. Meeting with vendors or suppliers, 77% prefer video to phone. So you've got to get comfortable with being on camera. And if I can just address that for a moment. The first time I went on camera and did like a video was, I don't know, maybe 2013. And the first thing I did when I looked on the camera, I was like, whoa, you know, I'd be puffy cheeks and stuff. And I stopped doing it for a while. But then I started, needed to do it for online training, things like that. And I became more and more comfortable, and I'm now extremely comfortable on it, but I don't necessarily think I look the best on camera. So you got to put that aside. Okay. If that is stopping you, if that is limiting you from doing video and calling customers and you're talking to them on the phone, you need to make the adaptation to digital quickly. You need to start using Zoom or Google's new free Meet or Facebook or whatever it is. There's all types of tools out there, and you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable on camera. And eventually you just get so where it becomes the new normal and you become comfortable with it. Right? Kind of like presenting, right? Many of us are comfortable presenting in front of a customer, but if there's a room full of people, we get nervous. But if we really know our topic, then we're okay. And we start to adapt. So you need to adapt. I know there's a lot of people out there that are uncomfortable with video, but we have to make that change. Okay, we just have to make that change. Likewise, here, the future is digital and optimistic. According to survey respondents, these pandemic-induced patterns are likely to become permanent. close to 9 in 10 decision makers say that new commercial and go-to-market sales practices will be a fixture throughout 2021 and possibly beyond. Companies expect the changes to stick. Okay, likelihood of sustaining new go-to-market models for the next 12 months plus is astronomical. Okay, 89%. Okay, say that this is very likely to continue, and they're comfortable with it. So, what I wanted to achieve today in this Sales Freak episode is to draw your attention to the importance of going digital. The importance of putting yourself on camera like this. There are a lot of many different tools out there. There's many different things that you can do, that you can use. But I just need to, not to beat a dead horse, but to beat a dead horse. Listen, if you're in sales, if you're in business, you've got to switch to digital, and you've got to do it now. Okay, because if you offer that to your customers or your prospects, many of them are going to adapt, are going to be okay with wanting to meet you digital. I am having a meeting with somebody tomorrow digitally, a new business opportunity digitally. Okay, they chose that over the phone. I threw out both options. I said, would you prefer to do digital? Would you prefer to do phone? I prefer digital. And they said digital. So you've got to embrace digital video right now. And not all of you, but many of you, if you're like me, you are not comfortable looking at yourself on the camera. You think you look bad. You think you look fat, whatever it is. I know I did. I know I do at times. And, but not doing it is not an option. Doing it motivates you to get into shape, or motivates me to get into shape as it does, and as it is. I'm just being real. You gotta get on camera and feel comfortable being on camera. You don't have to do things like me with fancy backgrounds and stuff, but you can use your phone. You can use Zoom, whatever it is, and start doing digital and start getting in front of your customers and seeing them through digital. So I want to leave you with that. The data is overwhelming. Really consider switching to digital. Your prospects want it, your customers want it. And if you as a business don't have these tools available for your salespeople, if you haven't got online ordering yet, if you haven't got email, newsletters, and digital marketing out, you have got to do this. Tomorrow's Marketing Freak is going to go over email marketing, and the data is overwhelming. We're switching to digital. Absolutely. We all like human interaction, and we all crave that because we're social beings, and we will probably go back there one day where the majority of the time, or at least half the time, or whatever it is, that we do that. But not anytime soon. And so me getting comfortable being digital is important. Now, what I'd like to leave you with is the an upcoming I would like to leave you with an upcoming webinar that I am doing with the fine folks at Clean Intelligent. Now, we are going to be doing the webinar on this coming Thursday, a week tomorrow. And really encourage you to register for it. It's 3 secrets to grow your cleaning business without being the lowest price. I'm going to be speaking with Samuel Clayton, Director of Marketing. We're going to talk about 3 specific tactics, secrets, insights that you can use to start growing your cleaning business immediately, whether or not you are a cleaning business, or whether or not you are selling cleaning supplies. This is going to be for you. This is going to really help give you a paradigm shift on how to sell janitorial cleaning supplies and or services much faster. So I encourage you to join and to register for that. Again, in closing, we are talking about the recent data from McKinsey Group and the importance of going digital. And what we have talked about is the fact that 70% of B2B buyers are very comfortable making purchases up to $50,000. And there's a bunch that are fine up to $1 million, but 70% are comfortable making decisions and making purchases up to $50,000. And the majority of us talking, the majority of us, I'm sure, are selling things that are in and around or under $50,000. So the data is clear. The digital transformation is upon us, and we need to embrace it. So again, register for the webinar next Thursday, November the 12th, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific time. And I will see you in the next episode.